Hello everyone, welcome to Lab 1, Objective 1, where we're going to be going over the basic date functions. Now, before we get too crazy into those farther objectives, I think it's really important to just go over the basic date functions that we can then use to create more complex queries. So, to get started, what we're actually going to do before we even get into dates is we're actually going to run a small query here. We're going to be changing the time zone for a current session. So that command is alter session set time zone equals, and then you put in some kind of time zone based on Oracle's syntax. Now we're going to be using America, New York. So go ahead and do that. And we should get, yes, the session was altered. So perfect. Now we're going to run the second one, and we'll just go over very briefly what we get from this. Now, to start off, we get sysdate, which is the date of the system or the database. Now you'll notice the 4th of June of 2020, that matches the data that we have here, or the time clock that I have here on my computer. And sys timestamp gives us the same information as well as a timestamp, 7:37, 21 seconds, and then we have fractional seconds as well. So you'll see here 37, so that matches. Now next we have local timestamp. Now local is slightly different. Sys timestamp or sys date, those have to do with the database time zone, right? So the only time we'll really see a difference has to do with, if it's like a specific time. So in this instance, you'll notice I'm in Mountain Standard Time. My database is on my PC. So because of that, the difference between Mountain Standard Time and New York City, which would be in Eastern Time, is 2 hours. So you'll notice here the database on my computer says it's 7:37, while here we have 9:37. And you'll notice we have the same seconds and fractional seconds, as well as minutes. And so we just have that difference in the time with hours, those 2 hour difference. Now DB time zone, this is just the database, how it's set up its time zone. I would try really hard not to alter that. It can be very complex and it can ruin some things, so try not to alter that. Now session time zone, you'll see America, New York. That's that same information that I just set up. Current date, again, we have 4 June 2020. What's the difference between that and sysdate? I believe that current date is attached to the current session as opposed to the database. I'm not 100% sure on that though, so if I'm wrong, please feel free to disagree with me. And then lastly, we have current timestamp, which again is another timestamp, but again, this is current, so it has the hours that are in Eastern time with the session. So lastly, you'll notice we can exchange session with or current with or local with sys. Those three things kind of can be interchanged, but these are just a couple of date functions that you would think could exist based on changing the syntax of the names a little bit, but these actually don't work. You'll notice if I run this, it will tell us that current time zone being the last one, and if you eliminated each one by one, you'd get a message with whatever came last saying that it is an invalid identifier. So that's it. That's the basics for our date functions. We're going to go ahead and dive in a little bit deeper in our next objectives, and I will see you then.